This is a Fleming 65, and the interesting thing about this boat is it is the owner's second Fleming 65. He had one of the very first when they first came out, and then when he replaced it, he was so pleased with it, he bought another one pretty much the same. So this particular boat is about 2.5 years old. It was delivered at the beginning of 2018, and these are all about long distance cruising and serious boating. So we're going to go on board and give you the full tour. Let's go and have a look. Now this is very much a Fleming thing. You notice most of the boats I take you on, we have to go onto the bathing platform and up the steps. There's a side door here. You can step straight off the pontoon and straight onto the boat. You don't need to go around the back. We'll head on back first of all to the cockpit. And what I'm going to do, I think, is take you into the inside of the boat. We'll work our way through there, and then we'll come out around the outside engine room of the lot. Let's go and have a look. So just as we're going past, I will mention, in fact, that there is a backup set of engine controls in here, so that if you're stern to berthing, you've got thruster controls, engine controls, everything you need is there, and that allows you to control the boat from out here. Anyway, let's go on in and do the full tour. Now there are various layouts for this boat now. When it first came out, it had one standard layout, and they've added to that. Interestingly, this guy has gone for the original layout because that's what worked for him. He's very pleased with it. But I'm just going to show you here, the brochure is here. So the layout we have, so this is the standard layout here. What you can have now is a full beam master cabin there, which is very good. It puts the steps over to the side, and you still have a third cabin as well. This has the 3 cabins, as you can see. There's another version which is quite clever, which is this one here, because what this does, it gives you 2 doubles and then bunk beds in here, but with this you get an ensuite to each cabin. With the other 2 you get 3 cabins, 2 heads, but it depends what works for you. Of course, you can opt for the layout that suits you best. There's a pop-up TV back here, and you can have like a little coffee table or something over on this side. So that's like the lounge area, and that's the dining side. This owner's kept it all open because he has young children and they like to be able to run around, so that's why he's left that open. There's a lot of customization available on these, of course. This is very much a Fleming detail, this handrail down the centre, so when you're moving around the boat you're safe even if you're out at sea and it's a bit rough. These are designed for serious passage making and serious living on board, which is why you get this real home from home galley. So proper big cooker, you've got the hob here, it's all Miele. There's also the little induction one at the top. Loads of storage about the place. There's a proper dishwasher in here as well. So it is the kind of thing that you can spend some serious time on, and of course that caters directly out then to this area, which is nice. Also, they've put in sliding windows on this one, so one here and one on this side, so it just allows the air to flow freely through here. Big American style fridge freezer, and you'll see it's got these little catches on the top so that they don't fly open when you're out at sea. Like so. And then up here, this is storage for things like your plates and that kind of thing. Very nice. Now we can go 2 ways here. That's up to the pilot house, that's down to the lower deck. I think we're going to do the lower deck first, and then we'll work our way around and back up. So if we head down here, on this layout, what you find is a guest cabin on this side first of all. So you've got these 2 single beds that cross over to maximise the space. It's a nice little cabin actually, with this little dressing area over on this side. This pulls out, and then you've got storage tucked in around. That's a little hanging locker, and so on. And then on the other side of the boat you have another guest cabin. So that's here. This one's been fitted with a Pullman berth on this side, so you can drop this down. If your kids are on board, they want to bring their friends, that drops down and gives you another bed. And this one here, you can see there's a little section here. That's so that you can have it folded away as it is now, and it gives you a bit more room on the bed beneath, or you can pull it out and make that one bigger when it's in use. And again, hanging lockers, nice little dressing area. That is a very decent cabin. Now both of these cabins share this heads, so very good size. You've got your loo in here, of course, storage, and a very nice shower area as well. So that works well for those 2 cabins. And then right at the front of the boat we have the owner's cabin. Now on this one, this bed looks fairly high, and it is because they wanted a larger bed, and with the flare of the bow they made to make the bed larger, was to bring it up a bit. So standard bed's a little bit lower, but again, it's all about the customization of these boats. So if you want something a little bit different, they'll do it, and this is what this has. So bed's a bit bigger than standard. There's a hatch up above, that's also an escape hatch. There's a ladder that clips onto there. So if you need an emergency way out, you've got it. Hanging lockers again about the place. You'll notice these louvered doors, so they're ventilated. Drawers underneath, and this one has its own ensuite, like so. Very nice. Right, let's head on back and we'll go and take a look at the pilot house. So what we're going to do this time is take a turn around to the left and we'll find the steps up to the pilot house. What they've got on this boat is these doors here mean that if you're cruising the boat at night, you can have the lights on and people can be watching TV or cooking or whatever they want to do in here, but it's not allowing light up into the wheelhouse, so that's quite a nice feature. The other thing you have up here is the day heads. That's up on this level, just in here. So you don't need to go down to the lower deck if you want to use the loo. This is one of those places where you get that real little ship feel that these boats are so noted for. It's a proper, well, it's a proper wheelhouse, isn't it? Little area here for people to join in the ride if they want to. You can in fact convert this into a pilot berth, so if people want to sleep up here when the boat is underway, they can do. There's a lovely big helm seat and there's big vertical wheel, proper little ship stuff. Now these boats are all about long distance and keeping going, so you've got things like a bonning system here, but there are two of these. There's another one of these on the flybridge and they are completely independent. They're not two screens running the same system, and it means that you can switch from one to the other if you had a failure. And this controls pretty much everything on the boat. If we go into menu, for example, you can see all the different systems we've got access to. I'm going to show you breakers. And that is all the breakers on the boat. So if you want to have the breakers for the cabins or the lights and that kind of thing, they're all there. You can go to navigation and you have the breakers of depth sounders and that sort of stuff. Everything is on there. So as I say, two systems of that. If that one went down, you have a second one. However, come and have a look in here. This is the battery master switches, but if I close that and open that, in here, you can really see the depth of the quality of this boat when you look in places like this. Every single breaker has a manual switch over. So if you've ever got really, really stuck, you can look in the manual. If you want to switch any breaker on and off, you can do it. You're not stuck if both bonning systems went down, which is incredibly unlikely. The dealer says it's never actually happened, but nonetheless, it gives you some idea of the way the boat is developed and designed just to keep on running. And in fact, I can show you another example of that over here, because controls back up. There are two completely separate electronic control units for the engine. So that's the computer that actually drives the engine. If a computer was to pack up, you can flick that, flick it across and run it off the other computer, so it doesn't stop you. Steering back up, exactly the same. If your steering pump failed, you've got a backup steering pump, you flick the switch and you carry on. And in fact, it's not just that, there's an autopilot that has its own separate pump. So there are 3 separate steering pumps. And the idea is that when you're doing big, long distance passage making, you're self-sufficient. You're not grinding to a halt if anything goes wrong. You've got backup systems and you can keep going. And that's really important with this sort of boat. Now from here, we can go straight up onto the flybridge. So I think we'll do that and then we'll loop our way back around. So this is the flybridge area. You've got another helm station up here, and that's the bonning system again, repeated. It's got stabilizers on this boat, they're controlled here, and all the other controls for bits and pieces that you need are there as well, and another big vertical wheel. And a great view out across the front of the boat actually as well. This hardtop is an option, quite a good option if you're in a warm climate, and the owner of this one takes it down to the Mediterranean every winter. And in fact, this guy has also fitted solar panels on top, so that when the boat's been left for a long period of time, even if it's not plugged in, it's keeping the batteries topped up, so you don't have to worry about those going flat. Worth mentioning, in fact, that's just reminded me that on that bonning system, you can connect it to your mobile phone, so if you have any alerts that crop up, it'll text you and let you know. You've got seating, of course, all the way around here and down here, and a really decent sized dinghy on this one. The crane you can see over on this side, so that lifts it on and off. but that's a pretty substantial tender. Let's go right around the back and you'll see 70 horsepower outboard on that, so that's great for water skiing, water sports, exploring. It's not just a ship to shore. You can go and have some fun with that. And that really, again, if you're doing exploring, what you want to do is anchor somewhere nice, launch a dinghy and say, okay, let's go and explore for an afternoon, and that's the sort of boat that will allow you to do it. Okay, let's head on down. We'll take a turn around the decks. And then we'll check out the engine room, because that's really worth seeing. One thing I'm going to mention as we go around here, I didn't point it out earlier, is these are the engine vents. They're inboard, and the air has to go down, round, up, and then down into the engine room. And the idea of that is you don't get any of the salt water and that kind of thing getting in there, you just get clean air. This boat's got about 700 hours on it, and I'll show you the engine room and you'll be, I think, impressed. And that's in large part why they're in such good condition. Again, you've got the rails everywhere, so when you walk around the boat it's dead safe, and really high sides as well, proper bulwarks on there, not just rails. We'll step up here. There are side sliding doors from the helm, so you can see that's where we were a moment ago. And then right round onto the front there's a Portuguese bridge here, and then we can step right up. You could put some bathing cushions on here if you want to, of course, and some pretty meaty anchor handling gear up here on the front. So you've got twin rollers, so you can put 2 anchors out if you want, twin winches. It's all proper stuff. I mean, these are expensive boats, but there's a very, very good reason for that. You get what you pay for. Look at that, that looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Let's head on down. Very keen to show you the engines on this one, because the whole engine space is pretty spectacular. So come down this side, drop down. I like these overhangs. It's proper super yacht feel as you walk around the boat. This is where we came on initially, and then we come right to the back. This, if I move my shoes out of the way, we can open. And then what you have here is this bar, rather neatly drops in over here. And that's a rail to hang on to, and it keeps everything sturdy, means it's not going to drop on anybody going up and down. Works really well, actually. So, we'll head on in here. Now this one has a rather interesting engine choice, because the standard engines on here are MAN i6 800s. They're giving the boat about 19-20 knots flat out, but she'll cruise at 16. This owner, he never goes over about 10 knots. He didn't need or want those big engines, so he's gone for Cummins. They're 405 horsepower each. So this particular boat is maxing out at 14 knots, and he cruises at around 10 knots, and that's going him 2,000 miles plus of range. In actual fact, you'll get a similar range out of the bigger engines because they're working less hard. So it's not necessarily that it gives you more range, it's just he prefers the smaller engines, and it does give you a huge amount of space in here. You can see you can really get all the way around these engines very well. One of the things I like, which I've not seen done before, is he's put mirrors on the fuel tanks out there. It means that you can really easily check down that side of the engine for any oil dribbles or anything else. I think that's a great idea. That's on both sides, of course. They're over there as well. But this is what I was saying earlier about how clean this is. 700 hours on this boat, and yet it looks absolutely immaculate. More of that redundancy equipment where you've got twin filters, for example, that you can easily switch from one to the other, so you can change one filter whilst it's running. This is a fuel polishing system. That means that the fuel can be moved between the tanks and cleaned as it goes through. That's a cleaning device that gets out any impurities. Those are the track stabilizers. I mentioned those when we were looking around the boat earlier, but that's the inside of those. And as we head on back, there are a couple other interesting features. Generators are backed up, one here and one here. So again, you've got that redundancy. This is a neat feature, this thing that's making the noise that we can hear. That is a converter. It will convert any power output and any frequency into the correct frequency and power output for the boat. So if you take this boat to the States, for example, and you could do, then you can plug in over there. They've got 110 volt, of course, and a different frequency to us. It will convert that to 240 and the correct frequency, so everything will still work correctly. Another thing that I want to show you while we're down here is over here, because these are the water pumps. You've got 2 pumps. Again, it's redundancy. If a water pump packs up, it just automatically uses the other. They're in line with each other. But what is clever is that these are set up so that if everybody goes and has a shower at the same time, and somebody's clearly just gone and used something because one of them started running, it will actually click them both in line, so that if you've got a major draw, it will give you loads of supply, people will still get their proper showers. But this is typical of a Fleming down here, the way everything's laid out. Look at the steering gear, it's so get-atable. Fantastic. Excellent, let's head on up. And I think we'll finish off at the back of the... How did Maggie get there? Never mind. At the back of the boat. And say, huge thanks to Fleming Europe for organising that tour for me, and huge thanks to the owner who's allowed me to do it as well. That's really kind. And of course, huge thanks to you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of this boat in the comments, and we'll look forward to catching you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.